people today about setting up some franchises for an up and coming restaurant in some other cities outside of the original state that the company was founded, and breaking in new markets is difficult. And one of the things that I look at if I'm going to go into a new market, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to start looking at cities where people travel the most to from that destination. And I'm going to loop back to, because I originally got this idea from the people that travel and eat stuff like McDonald's. So let's just say that there's a restaurant chain in Chicago that I'm working with, and they're only in Chicago and they want to expand to, I don't know, Ohio. Let's just say not Ohio. Let's just say they want to expand outside the state of Illinois. The first thing I go look at flight patterns, and then I look at where the data says people are relocating to from Chicago the most. And what I'm trying to do is I'm looking for a sense of familiar, where let's just say you moved from Chicago to Columbus, Ohio, and we know that based on traffic patterns, that's the third destination where people are moving to, which I'm just making this up right now. That would be a place that I would start looking at for demographics to say, okay, I already know there's people familiar with my brand from Chicago. That's a starting point. And then when you see something pop up local, you start going, oh, I know this place, and I want to tell my friends and my family and all that stuff. So it's one of those things that there was that effing liquor. When it first came out, they would think they were in New York first. And I remember reading about it in a whiskey magazine. And I knew someone going out there, and I had them like bring me back some bottles. But it's one of those things that they went to New York first. They were able to get that transient traffic and the travelers, and people started bringing that stuff home. And then someone saw it here, and then they wanted it. There's these little strategies you have to play when you're expanding. And I looked at just stuff like this. So I've heard a lot of people complain like, "Oh, Americans travel overseas and then they go eat McDonald's." Look, my first thought is, who cares? If someone wants to eat McDonald's all day long while they're in Paris, leave them the hell alone. It doesn't make them less cultured. It doesn't make them stupid. It's like, mind your own business. We got a bad habit of trying to tell everyone else how to live based on how we think they should live. And every day it just gets worse and worse and worse. Leave people alone. It's a lot of times I hear people saying this stuff, and if you analyze their own life, it's like, man, you don't even, what are you talking about? So I always found this conversation interesting. I knew people that traveled overseas and they go to McDonald's because they didn't want to take a risk on eating bad food and not having access to a bathroom on a train, on the streets. Food allergies, many other reasons. It's just one of those things. It's a safe bet. It's like, I'm a foodie. I might be there for the food, but a lot of people don't care. They're sightseeing. They're on vacation. They don't care about the food. But it's that thought of, we often go to things that we have a sense of familiar with. So when you're expanding a restaurant chain, I think you look at, all right, I'm in this city. Where do people from this city go the most? And that would be my first target. I'm actually curious to see what the 6 reasons are. I always like the Points Guy site. Usually has a bunch of American Express stuff up on there. So one thing I do hate, I dislike when people tell you there's a list or 5 reasons and they don't actually put a title on them. So, International McDonald's food tastes better. I mean, who knows? It's possible. Probably more variety anyways. What else we got? A different take on home. No language barriers. I mean, you just order on a damn app anymore. It's not $1, but it's cheap. I mean, it's cheap. The McCafe effect. Wi-Fi and bathroom breaks. I'll tell you, you think about like how many people use the bathroom when they travel, especially by car at McDonald's. Everyone's looking for McDonald's for the bathroom break. And then you feel guilty and you gotta like buy a pop because you feel like they're using their stuff. But anyways, I guess it's kind of 2 conversations in one. But hey, what do you think of the people that eat at places like KFC and McDonald's when they're traveling outside the country? And second of all, that thought of when you're expanding a business to unknown markets, do you think it's a wise idea to pick locations where there's already a group of people, or do you think it matters? Do you think you just go in there, do your branding. If you got to do billboards, radio, TV, hit social media hard, or you better off starting with the foundation. There's a hotel in Vegas called the D, I believe, and they used to always advertise on the radio here. And it's one of those things that it gave Detroiters kind of a sense of home in Vegas, and I think that marketing play worked. So I always think that in general, people like things that are familiar to them, and we stick with it. So whether we're traveling abroad and we eat at restaurants that we know and trust, or we're somewhere new, but then we see something like, oh, that's like back home. I want to get that. So I'm excited. Michigan just got like its first Portillo's, and I was going to Chicago all the time, and you get Portillo's, and you come back and you tell people about Portillo's. But when Portillo's came here, they didn't have to break into a new market. That for the most part, there's a tremendous amount of people go from Michigan to Chicago for shopping, entertainment, vacation, shows, music. Like a lot of people from Michigan go to Chicago, they get the Italian beef. So when they came here, it wasn't like, oh, we got to do this like 3 months of branding ramp up to let everyone know who we are. So many people went from Michigan to Chicago and knew that they just opened the thing up and it's booming. So it's one of those things, again, looking at traffic patterns. That's probably the best way to do it. But I don't know. If you got some other ideas, drop a comment below. Till then, I'm going to catch you on the next one.